Hello and welcome to today's edition of Daf Yomi Tractate Menachot Menachot Daf 56 Omad A. Just carrying on from the last Omad. This is the Tim of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon says the Tim of the goat serves to include the goats brought as communal sin offerings for idol worship and the requirement of placing hands on the head of an offering. Ravina objects to this. This works out well according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, who says that the offering of Nasha was included in the requirement of placing hands on the head of the animal. According to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, what does it say? Why should the Torah write the term it, since there was no reason to assume that it would require slaughter in the north? Ma'azutra, son of Mari, said to Ravina, and according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda as well, why not say that for that which it was included, I placed the hands on the head of the animal was included, and for that which was not included, I slaughtered in the north, it was not included. Why would one think that the obligation to slaughter in the north applies to the offering of Nachshon merely because the requirement placed the hands applies to the offering? If you would say that had the verse not excluded the offerings of the princes, I would say that one could derive the requirement for slaughter in the north by a paradigm. So what's a paradigm in Hebrew? A binyan av. This is one of the fundamental hermeneutical principles of the Torah. It appears in the list of the 7 principles of Hillel the Elder, the 13 principles of Rabbi Shmuel, the 32 principles of Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Hagalili. The idea is that the Torah states its halacha in brief and often clarifies fully in one instance so that the same conclusion should be transferred to similar areas of halacha. The simplest form of the analogy is, just as in case A halacha time X applies, so too may be inferred that in case B, which is similar to case A, halacha X also applies. It is also called a binyan av because the source case is comparable to a father and Av teaching his sons, and that's from the Rif. From all of the sin offerings. If so, one could also derive the requirement for placing on the head of the animal itself via the same paradigm. Well, the reason that the requirement of placing the hands cannot be derived via a paradigm is that we do not learn the requirements of a sin offering of Nachshon, which is for the time of the inauguration of the tabernacle alone, from the requirements of sin offerings applicable to all generations. So what's the footnote? Shal midoros la yalfinan. Finan, maybe. Finan. A derivation means of a paradigm is based on the fact that there are some points of comparison between the new case and the paradigm. Since offerings that were brought only once in history are unique, their details cannot be derived from a paradigm. By contrast, details of halachot that are derived from apparently redundant words in the Torah are not dependent on a comparison between two cases, and therefore it's possible to learn from the additional term of the goat that the goats brought as sin offerings by Nachshon and the other princes, including the requirement of placing hands on the head of the offering. So too, the requirement of slaughter in the north cannot be derived via a paradigm because we do not learn the requirements of the sin offering of Nachshon, which is for the time of the inauguration of the tabernacle alone, from the requirement of the sin offering applicable to all generations. Rather, the term it, stated with regard to the sin offering of a king, serves to teach that it must be slaughtered in the north of the temple courtyard, but the one who slaughters it does not need to stand in the north when he slaughters. The offering would be valid even if he were to stand in the south of the courtyard and use a long knife to slaughter the animal that is positioned in the north. The Gemara challenges this. The halacha is the one who slaughters has already been derived from the statement of Rabbi Chia. So what's the footnote? Mid Rabbi Achia nafka. Although Rabbi Achia's statement refers to a burnt offering, not a sin offering, the Gemara's claim can be understood based on the principle stated in Tractate Daf 48b, that a derivation cannot be more stringent than the primary source of which it is derived. In this context, if one slaughters a burnt offering, which is where the requirement for slaughter in the north is stated, does not have to stand in the north as he slaughters. Certainly one does not slaughter a sin offering, does not have to stand in the north, he Tosfot. As it's taught in the Bible, Rabbi Chia says, the verse states with regard to a burnt offering, and he shall slaughter it on the side of the altar northward toward God, in Leviticus 1:11. Why must the verse state the exclusionary term it? He explains, since we have found that the priest stands in the north and collects the blood from the neck of the animal in the north, or if he stood in the south and collected the blood in the north, Offerings of the most sacred order whose blood was collected in the south of the courtyard are disqualified. Furthermore, if a priest stood in the south of the temple courtyard and reached out to collect the blood in the north, it is disqualified in accordance with the opinion of the Tana and of the Braita. 1:7-9. The offering is disqualified. One might have thought that this is so also with regard to this one who slaughters the offering. Therefore the verse states, and he shall slaughter it, to teach that the animal must be in the north, but the one who slaughters does not have to be standing in the north. If one stands in the south and stretches out the slaughter of an animal positioned in the north of the temple courtyard, the slaughter is valid in accordance with the Braita. Sefer 1:8. Temple courtyard when he slaughters the animal. The question returns: what is derived from the exclusionary term "it" stated with regard to the sin offering of a king? And what answers, rather the term "it" stated with regard to the sin offering of a king serves to teach that the goat brought as a sin offering must be slaughtered in the north, but a bird brought as an offering does not need to be killed in the north. It might enter your mind to say, let it be derived that a bird must be killed in the north by a fortiori inference from the halacha of a sheep, as follows. Just as in the case for sheep brought as a burnt offering, that the Torah did not fix that its slaughter must be performed by a priest, yet nevertheless it fixed that its slaughter must be in the north. With regard to a burnt offering, a bird brought as an offering for which the Torah did not fix that its slaughter must be performed by a priest, it is not logical that the Torah should also fix its slaughter in the north. Therefore the verse states it to exclude a bird from the requirement of being killed in the north. With more questions of logical inference. One cannot derive the halacha of a bird offering from the halacha of a sheep offering, as what is notable about a sheep offering? Notable in that the Torah fixed the requirement that it be slaughtered with a utensil, i.e. a knife. By contrast, a bird is killed by a priest pinching the nape of his neck with his fingernail without a utensil. Therefore, the term "it" cannot serve to counter this derivation. If so, there is no reason to think that a bird should also have to be killed in the north, and the term "it" is not necessary to exclude this possibility. The Gemara explains. Rather, the term "it" stated with regard to the sin offering of a king serves to teach that the goat of a king, is slaughtered in the north, but the paschal offering is not slaughtered in the north. The Gemara raises a difficulty. The halacha that the paschal offering need not be slaughtered in the north is not derived from the term "it," but rather it is derived as stated by Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. As is taught in the Braita, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, one might have thought that a paschal offering requires slaughter in the north, and this can be derived through a logical inference, just as in the case of a burnt offering, for which the Torah did not fix a time for its slaughter, yet fixed that it requires slaughter in the north, which requires a paschal offering, for which the Torah fixed a time for its slaughter, i.e., it must be slaughtered in the afternoon of the 14th day of Nisan. It is not logical that the Torah would fix it, that it must be slaughtered in the north. Therefore, the verse states it to exclude the paschal offering from the requirement of a slaughter in the north. The Gemara questions the logical inference. One cannot derive the halacha of a paschal offering from the halacha of a burnt offering. As what is notable about burnt offering is notable in that the Torah teaches that it is entirely burned on the altar. This is not so with regard to a paschal offering. The Gemara continues, if you suggest learning a logical inference from the halacha of a sin offering, which is not entirely burned on the altar, yet is slaughtered only in the north, this too can be refuted. And what is notable about a sin offering? It's notable in that it has the power to atone for those sins liable for punishment by excision from the world to come, karet, which is not so with regard to a paschal offering. The Gemara continues, if you suggest learning a logical inference from the halacha of a guilt offering, which is not entirely burned, does not atone for their sins liable for punishment by karet, and is slaughtered only in the north, this too can be refuted, as what is notable about a guilt offering, notable in that it is an offering of the most sacred order. What's that? Kodesh Kadoshim. Burnt offerings, sin offerings, guilt offerings, and communal peace offerings are included in this category. The following regulations apply specifically to these offerings. They are slaughtered only in the northern section of the temple courtyard. Those offerings that are eaten may be eaten only on the day the animal is sacrificed and the night following that day. And they may be eaten solely by priests and only within the temple courtyard. Furthermore, the prohibition against misusing consecrated property applies to those offerings as soon as they are consecrated. Once their blood has been sprinkled on the altar, the prohibition against misuse continues to apply to the portion of the offering consumed on the altar, but not to portions of the offering that are to be eaten, which is not so with regard to a paschal offering. The Gemara adds, having noted this distinction between a guilt offering and a paschal offering, one can say that for all the three offerings, the halacha of a paschal offering cannot be derived from them either, since each of them is an offering of the most sacred order. The Gemara returns to the initial inference. Rather, the term it teaches, as we said initially, i.e. the animal must be standing in the north. But the one who slaughters the animal does not have to stand in the north. And that which is difficult for you, and we derive this halacha from the statement of Rabbi Chia, is in fact not difficult. The derivation of Rabbi Chia from the term it does not come to exclude one who slaughters from the requirement to slaughter in the north, since it is known already from the term it, stated with regard to the sin offering of a king. Rather, this is what Rabbi Chia is saying. The one who slaughters the animal does not have to stand in the north, but by inference, the one who collects the blood from the neck of the animal must stand in the north. The Gemara questions this inference. The halacha is that one who collects the blood from the neck of the animal stands in the north is derived from the fact that the Torah could have written the priest shall take, and instead writes the priest shall take, and the priest shall take, Leviticus 4:34. The Gemara explains the Tana does not learn anything from the distinction between the priest shall take and the priest shall take. Since he does not agree with his derivation, he must therefore derive the requirement to collect the blood while standing in the north from a different verse. The Mishnah teaches that one is liable to be flogged for kneading the meal offering and for shaping it and for baking it if the meal offering becomes leaven. But Papa said if one baked the meal offering as leaven, he is flogged with 2 sets of lashes, one for shaping the dough, one for baking it. The Gemara raised a difficulty, but you said in a Baita, just as the act of baking is notable in that it is a single action, one is liable to receive lashes for it by itself. This indicates that one receives 1 set of lashes for baking a meal offering as leaven bread, not 2. And one answer is not difficult as this statement of the Baita. One receives a single set of lashes for baking is referring to a case where he shaped the dough and he, the same person, also baked it. Since he has already incurred liability to receive lashes for shaping the dough before he baked it, he is not liable again for shaping when he bakes it. That statement about Papa, the one who bakes the dough is liable to receive 2 sets of lashes, is referring to a situation where another person shaped the dough. So what's for now? The Arech Chavre. The commentaries disagree as to the meaning of this passage. Some maintain that when the one who shapes the dough also bakes it, he is liable to receive only 1 set of lashes, the act of baking. Whereas if someone else shapes the dough, the one who bakes it is liable to receive 2 sets of lashes, as he too contributes to the shaping, says Rashi. Others explain that one is liable to receive 2 sets of lashes only if he both shapes and bakes the dough. The novelty of this halacha is that his liability for performing both stages of the preparation of the meal offering is not limited to 1 set of lashes. Conversely, if one person shaped the dough and another baked it, then each individual is liable to receive only 1 set of lashes. And that's from the Zavatoda citing the Rambam of Menachot Daf. The dough and gave the dough shaped dough to him, and he baked it. Although the one who shaped it is liable to receive lashes for the act of shaping, nevertheless, the one who bakes it is liable to receive 2 sets of lashes, as the act of baking also completed the shaping of the dough. The Gemara continues to discuss the leavening of a meal offering. The sages taught in a Braita in Tosefta, Bechorot 3:6, in the case when unblemished firstborn kosher animal whose blood circulation is constricted. So what's the footnote? Hakazasdom, bloodletting. Bloodletting was based on an ancient system of medicine according to which blood and other bodily fluids were considered to be humus, the proper balance of which was believed to maintain health. It was the most common medicinal procedure performed by doctors on both humans and animals from antiquity through to the late 19th century, a period of almost 2 millennia. Today, it is medically established that bloodletting is not effective for most diseases. One of the only remaining conditions for which it is used is polycythemia vera, a disease in which the body produces an excess of red blood cells. It is possible that the Tosefta is referring to this condition. And if you have the Gemara on page 29, there's a picture of an ancient Greek urn depicting bloodletting. By cutting into a place where the incision does not cause a permanent blemish, but one may not let the animal's blood by cutting it in a place where the incision causes a permanent blemish, as it is prohibited to intentionally cause the blemish in a firstborn animal. This is statement of Rabbi Meir. And the rabbis say, one may even let the animal's blood by cutting it in a place where the incision causes a permanent blemish, provided that he does not slaughter the animal on the basis of that blemish, even though in general a firstborn animal may be slaughtered once it develops a permanent blemish. The rabbis maintain that in this case, since he has caused the blemish himself, he may not slaughter it until it develops a different unrelated blemish. Rabbi Shimon, that's the end of the Omed. Thank you for listening and all the best. Bye.